The following podcast is a Dear Media production.
This episode is brought to you by Saks.com, and I am so grateful because it is that time of year again, y'all. The holidays are upon us, and finding the perfect gift, those cute holiday outfits, and more can be such a struggle. This is why I love shopping Saks.com. It makes it so easy to find great gifts for those that you love. Saks.com's holiday gift guide makes it easy to find presents for hard-to-shop people. From the viral Celine sunglasses your college-aged daughter has been wanting to the Chloe bag you've had your eye on for months, Saks.com has it all. Plus, it makes it so easy for this pregnant mama to make sure I get all of my shopping done before baby number 3 arrives without having to worry about crowded stores and long lines. It truly is making my life so much easier this holiday season. It goes even beyond clothes. You know, your girl loves to shop cute home decor for the holiday season, and Saks.com has me covered. And you can make wish lists, which is so helpful for me because we have so many family members and friends I need to shop for. Being able to shop off their list just makes my life so much easier to just get everyone exactly what they want for the holidays. Find gifts guaranteed to bring joy to every hard-to-shop for person this season at Saks.com. Hello, and welcome back to your favorite podcast,
De-Influenced.
Guys, today is a huge deal. This might be one of the coolest guests that we've had, maybe one of the most successful, I would say.
This is a Jordan guest.
This is a Jordan guest.
I fought for this one.
And not only that, but it is actually one of my best friend's dads that we have here. So we are sitting with Jack Hollis. Like I said, he's one of my best friend Allison's father. This episode is going to be so special to me. We are going to be de-influencing former professional athlete, current Toyota Chief Operating Officer and President of Toyota, once again, Jack Hollis.
President of Toyota USA.
President of North America.
North America,
right?
Yeah.
We got it right.
There's all kinds of weird titles, so don't worry about it. Just go with team captain.
Okay, team captain.
Y'all, this is actually really special. So we want to de-influence Jack today on kind of two major topics. He's obviously so successful. He is the COO of Toyota, but he also has raised one of the most beautiful, amazing families.
Thank you.
Allison is one of my best friends. And the reason I know that you guys have such a beautiful family, I've been around you guys a couple of times, but I've never heard, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. I've never heard of a daughter speak about her father that way. It makes me want to cry. Yeah. It's really amazing. I think so many people have so many, issues with their families. And I know that y'all probably do too, but the way that she respects you and your wife as well, it's really beautiful. And I'm like, man, how do I create that with my family? And then not only that, but you've been able to really succeed in your business, but hold true to your values. And so we have so much to talk about, but I have to give credit to my husband because this was his idea and he was so excited about it.
So excited.
Okay, so let's start off with our first segment of de-influencing Jack and kind of getting to know him.
Yeah.
You want to go?
No, you take it.
Okay. So first of all, Jack, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
We're so thankful. Where are you from? Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. Born and raised in Southern California. Lived all over a bunch of cities, primarily in the Torrance and Palos Verdes area, just south of LAX airport, and kind of grew up kind of a beach guy, kind of a near the beach stuff. So not quite the same in Texas now, but grew up in Southern California.
And then how did you get involved in sports? You come from a sports family? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm kind of our heritage is sports from both my mom and my dad's side. So my mom's dad, my grandfather, was a professional baseball player on the West Coast before the Dodgers moved out to LA. My grandfather was he spent about 25 years of playing and managing, and then he became a scout, and he's in the Hall of Fame for both playing and for scouting. And then that was my mom's side, and then her brother also played professional baseball. So baseball was on my mom's side. And then on my dad's side, my dad wanted to be a professional baseball player. In fact, he had a chance to try out for the Baltimore Orioles. That didn't work out, but that spurred, he loved sports. And so he ended up immediately changing from a baseball desire to golf. And then over a short period of time, he became a professional golfer. And so I grew up with a professional golfer dad and a professional baseball player uncle and grandfather. And so sports were always around my life.
Were they biased in terms of what sport they wanted you to play?
They actually, Yes, they were biased that I play all sports.
You're probably good at everything.
No, I'm good at everything that my feet can be in control of. Once you put me on a surfboard or a skateboard or a set of skis, not so good. But you put me on the ground, and so they had me play. I played all of them growing up. I mean, golf and ran track and football and baseball and basketball and soccer and whatever ones I'm missing.
When did you narrow down? Because you played baseball at Stanford, right?
Yeah, high school. I played.
You went to Stanford?
Yeah,
did.
I know.
That's a big deal. That's so
I know.
cool.
I was afraid he was going to be too humble to say it, but I was like, I got to get out that he went to Stanford.
It may be a big deal, but I just call it a God deal because the story around it was amazing. But I will tell you is I played basketball and baseball in high school, loved them both, probably even more passionate towards basketball. But God had gifted me in some ways with my legs and some speed, and in baseball it fit together. And then God blessed me with an opportunity to go to Stanford and got to win a national championship while we were there, and then I had a chance to get drafted by the Cincinnati Reds to start my professional baseball career. So I graduated. I think graduation was like June 7th. I don't remember the exact date. And then the next day, I was flown to Florida to start a baseball career. So it was kind of bang, bang. I never had any time and kind of just moved right into go from college to work.
I know that your faith is going to be a huge part of this conversation. Yeah. What is kind of your faith story? Were you raised in a Christian household? How did you come to know Jesus?
I appreciate you asking that. Jordan, I think it's important to understand that I grew up, I gave my life to Christ when I was 5 years old. And people say, come on, that can't be. No, I remember exactly what was being said. But I grew up in a home where my mom and dad were not Christians, not believers. They had until I was born. And there's a long story to it, but the short one is my dad's next youngest brother came to know the Lord, and he came out here to Dallas. He came to Dallas Theological. And what happened is, as he got deeper in his faith, all of his brothers and sisters, the five others, so there's 6 brothers and sisters. My dad's the oldest, became believers. So I grew up in a home that was baby Christians wanting to be around church. And so that's how I grew up. And then as I got older, the faith journey came just as God has protected me in many, many ways, as God has opened up doors for me in so many ways. It's been the reason I have to always share my faith story, or my faith story is my story.
Right.
And they never are apart, whether it's schooling or sports or Toyota or family, they always intersect.
Mm-hmm. And so when you went to the Cincinnati Reds, how many years did you play there?
Just 2 years. I played in multiple cities in their minor league system. Had a kind of a unique injury in my second year, which really probably stopped my progression. And I knew it. The fact is that I looked in the mirror one day and I just kind of knew. And it was, you mentioned earlier, Danny, about goosebumps and even maybe going to cry about something else. Well, I feel that same way all the time. God's always giving me goosebumps and maybe some tears about how many things he has directed. And I kind of knew one day looking in the mirror that, it's going to be time to end. And God used that though to open up the door, because that's when in between my first two, right before my second season, or in between my 2 seasons, is when I met this woman.
Ooh.
And this woman was the best. And I ended up marrying her. And that's
This is
Jane.
Allison's mother we're talking about, right?
I know. Okay, can I share a story real quick?
Yes, please.
I have to share a story because it's part of the faith story that I think is cool. I was praying at the last day of my first year in baseball that, hey, I said, God, Father, I'm coming back home. I'm going to give you my life. I've already given you my life, but I'm going to give you all of my attention. I'm going to go for this baseball career. You've opened up the door. I'm going to give you everything. And if this is supposed to happen, then I'm going to ask you to bless that. And I said, but when I came home, I want to stay focused. So please help me not meet any women, because I want to stay focused on playing. That was on a Friday night. I prayed. On Saturday, I got home and I went to a Saturday night church service, and sitting behind me in the pew, specifically behind me at my church, was this woman wearing this beautiful green dress with this great big smile. I turn around, she's sitting next to one of my good friends. I'm literally looking at her in the eye, and I'm like, have we met? Like, I kind of felt like I had met her, which is kind of a weird, like, pickup line, almost like weird, Have we met? And she's like, no, but I know you. You're Jack Hollis, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, how do you know? She goes, I'm living with your best friend's fiance. I've
Funny.
seen your picture and they told me we should meet.
Aw.
I said, oh, so great. Now remember, I just prayed the night before. I don't want to meet anybody. And my next comment to her is, hey, could I take you out?
Oh.
And she's like, no. I'm like, no, no. And literally, I was like, no.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I don't mean no ever. I mean, no, not right now because I have to go to work. And I'm like,
Because you prayed about that.
and I was like, this is crazy. So I only share that because if I keep telling you different parts of the story, I knew at the end of my second year of baseball, really that it was coming to an end. But God had opened up this door, this window with Jane, and that was moving at full speed.
Well, so I'm wanting to kind of track your life story here.
Sorry,
so
go.
You met Jane, okay, and then how long did you guys date before you got married, before you had kids?
We met on September 3rd of 1989. That was our first day of meeting at the church. We started dating when she got home from her work trip. She was a flight attendant for Delta Airlines, and she was coming home. And she asked if I could pick her up, and that was our first date. And we dated long distance because she only lived in the area that I was living in for only about a month before she had to transfer back to her home in Portland. So we dated long distance for 17 months and got married.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was not long.
Yeah.
And then we got married in January of 91.
So you were like were you freaking out whenever you quit playing baseball? Because you probably had spent almost your entire life just playing sports. Did you have a vision of what you wanted to do? Like, how did that eventually end up at Toyota?
So in 1990, when I went back, so I'd met Jane. I knew I wanted to marry her, asked her father if I could marry her, but I didn't know when I was going to be able to ask her. I went to my second season, was playing, kind of started to get in this impression that I'm probably going to end this career. When I had to say no to baseball, it was really hard. I had spent my whole life, if you look at even notes I wrote to myself in a journal, or things I even published, there were things about I'll see you in the majors, or and again, God had allowed for a lot of success, and I'm very, very grateful. I learned a lot about what I apply today about team sports and what role we each play and how each role is critical to the end. Some get more attention than others, but the team is always the most important. It's no individual. So this was all happening at this time, and then Jane and I set our wedding date in January so I could go back to spring training for my third year. But during that time, between Cincinnati letting me go, for me to try to go back to another team which was pursuing me, and I was working in an internship at a bank, inside me, I didn't know what I wanted to do. That's the issue. I had always thought it was going to be baseball, and I was going to honor God through that and maybe go into ministry. And when that was ending, it was quite devastating early on. And so I kept working at the bank just so I had a job to then support, Jane. But inside, we were trying to figure out where we were to go. And it turns out that the city that we were living in is Torrance, California, which was at that time, the global headquarters or the regional headquarters for Toyota. So if it was the US or North American headquarters for Toyota. And so it was in my backyard, and it's literally like I keep telling you this story. God started opening up these doors where I was meeting people, and within a very short period of time, all these people were pointing from Toyota. They were either a person from Toyota or recommended Toyota, or Toyota was in the golf tournament, it was sponsoring the golf tournament that I was going to go play in or work at or whatever. And so all this was all happening at once. So there was a lot of feelings and emotions around the time of loss from baseball, but there was also a lot of matching feelings of excitement about what the future was holding and where we were going. And then I happened to meet a man who, so my dad was the head professional of a country club in Southern California. I used to work at that country club part-time to make more money. I met a man while I was actually in college who said, hey, if your baseball career ever ends, please give me a call. I love hiring team athletes, and I understand you're a captain. I said, yeah, I was the captain of the team. He said, I love hiring captains. I said, why? He says, captains understand what it is to be on a team, but to have to make a decision.
That's so smart.
So smart.
So smart. We're
a
only
hack.
hiring captains around here, guys.
But that's why now I love the title of team captain, and I use it all the time because that man told me that. And what he said was, if you will call me, I'll help you. He never told me what company he was with. He never told me what he did. This man just took an interest in me as an individual, as a person. 4 years later, my baseball career is ending. I find his card, and it's a card. It literally just says Bob.
Bob.
It's Bob with the phone number. So I called Bob with the phone number. Bob, well, as I call him, he doesn't answer. His secretary answers. Hi, this is Jack Hollis calling for Bob. His last name is McCurry, Bob McCurry. And she's like, oh, hey, Jack. And I'm thinking, hello? And she says, oh, wait, isn't this Jack Hollis? I said, yeah. She goes, oh, this is Sue. You don't know me? No. Oh, you're talking about my dad. Thought she was talking to my dad, who has the same name, Jack Hollis, and he was supposed to give Bob a golf lesson.
Oh,
Funny.
And so I'm like, no, this is Jack Jr. And I'm calling Bob because he said if I ever needed some help, maybe looking for a job. He's like, so out of the background, I hear Bob say, hey, Sue, give me the phone call. That's Jack Jr.
Aww.
It's a long part of the story, or the longer part of the story, but the short part of it was, he says, come in for an interview tomorrow. I interviewed with some people, didn't really like the interview, didn't really like the people I met with. I said no to Toyota. He calls me back and says, why'd you say no? I said, the people I met with really weren't the kind of people that you told me that the company was about.
What happened in that interview?
It just was weird. It was just the people I was talking to.
Bad vibes.
It was like bad vibes. And they were asking kind of questions that they were like traditional.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time that you struggled and
He's like,
how'd you overcome it? I'm like,
it's boring.
That's not an interview. Like, I want to be with people.
Yeah.
I just want to be like good people.
And what position were you interviewing for?
I didn't even know.
Oh, that's funny.
I didn't know. He just said we have openings.
Got it.
So I didn't know. So I said, I said no. And he says, come back tomorrow. So I came back tomorrow. He put me with 3 different people and they were awesome. And these questions were great. They told me about this role, about it could become a management trainee. It's the lowest of the low. But by going into it, you could learn the entire business. And if you're willing to, we'll move you around the country. And you'll go to like our field office and you'll learn the dealership side of the business and parts and service and sales and marketing and all. So that sounds good. And especially since my wife didn't really want to live in Southern California. She says, I'll go anywhere. I'd like to go to Portland, and they had a Portland office. I said, well, maybe we'll get lucky. So I said yes. And like 2 weeks later, I started. It was in January of 92. So basically 1 year after we got married, we were starting with Toyota. And so I've been married to my wife for 33 years and I've been married to Toyota for 32 years. And I've been loyal to them. They've been loyal to me. And it's been a pretty good story.
So the president of Toyota North America started as a management trainee.
I started as a management trainee.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And the truth is I was one of the longest termed management trainees, or another way of saying I was the slowest to get promoted. Maybe one in the history of our company.
Let me ask you this. So I feel like the working environment is so different now. Like my mom worked at the same company for 30 plus years too, but you don't see that a lot anymore.
Yeah.
Do you, the several people that you mentor, or even your kids, do you give them the advice of loyalty and trying to rise to the ranks in this day and age? Because you're a success story for that, but I almost wonder if it's possible.
Because the moral of the story was stay loyal.
Kind of, yeah.
But is it like that these days?
I probably should be.
He's like, as the COO, if I say no, then I lose thousands of employees.
I feel like I should return. I should be the interviewer. You should be asking the questions while you tell me about society today, because I've gotten to a place where if I'm sitting in a room with my daughter's friends, it makes me feel like, man, I am old.
No.
But the answer to that question is I'm a little disappointed in today's lack of loyalty to companies.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed for this reason, is because there are so many companies that have a lot more to give you if you'll give it time to experience it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been here for 32 years and I've had 17 different roles. 17 different roles in the company. Basically every 2 years I'm having a new role. And if I break those down, I've probably had 6 or 7 different careers inside of that. On one side, when I was doing parts and service, that's a completely different mindset than when you are on vehicle sales. The distribution of vehicles, marketing. mean, I can go on through the different pieces of the jobs, but those are all different fields. Now, I realize that Toyota has all of those fields, so that's special to me. But many companies have a lot of opportunity that people, by not staying loyal, and I understand why. There's more opportunity and you want to grow. And so which way do you want to grow? Do you want to grow in one company and give yourself different experiences, or do you want to go and experience multiple things? What I've told my kids and what I tell everybody that I mentor today, including people at Toyota, it's not for everybody, is for those, especially who are believers, you need to really ask inside, is the Holy Spirit confirming your choices in this company or not? If the Holy Spirit's not confirming it, then you need to leave. You need to go until you find what God's path is for you. On the other hand, I'm always asking employees, again, believer or not, Christian or not, what is it that you're looking for out of your career? Some people are looking for money. Some people are looking for balance to be able to work just enough to be able to be home a lot and everything in between. They're all correct. There's no wrong one.
Right.
But I'm just surprised at how often people are moving so quickly that do they really get a chance to understand the depth of what they were working on?
Right.
And that's my, I think maybe slightly more conservative stance, which is give it time. Have a reason why you're joining or have a reason why you're leaving.
I would tend to agree. I mean, because we try and focus on retention in every hire that we make, both at Divvy and on Danny's team.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that you can do as an employer to implement that. You can make sure they have a 401k. You can make sure that they have really good health insurance.
That's
you can
right.
really kind of be provisional. It's the harder things, I'm sure, as the company gets bigger, especially at the scale of Toyota, is how do you really develop them individually? It's one of the biggest lessons that we had to learn going from a team of 5 at Danny's team to a team of 25 at Divvy, is that it's harder to figure out scalable ways to really develop each individual. And it comes down to the hires that you're making at the management level, because we're saying, oh man, Danny and I cannot mentor you because there's too many of you now. So we have to hire really good leaders to lead the new trainees coming up. But I would imagine that, because COO, I mean, that's a lot of your oversight, right? Is the employee retention, the HR, the culture. I would assume that you've implemented a lot of programs that really focus on the development of the employees.
A couple of things are there. One is the word development can never be shared enough, and you can't. And I would encourage the two of you as well. How you develop your team has got to be a major focus, because you can only grow, or you can only grow the way you want to grow. So you can grow any company. If you want to grow the way you want it to grow, will mean that you're developing and mentoring and coaching the people in the direction you want to see the organization end up in. But secondly, you said something about leaders. Leaders and leadership is my passion. Leaders developing leaders who can develop leaders is my goal. It doesn't matter the title. I've been doing this for a long time. It just happens to be that the company has chosen to put me in a role of more responsibility, and I'm thankful for that. But my philosophy is the same, which is to surround yourself with the greatest leaders, not the greatest employee. There's a lot of people who are really good employees at one specific thing, but I want to surround myself with people who can lead others. They can coach others. They can love on others. They can serve others. These are things that are really critical. So that is my focus. And my focus at Toyota has been for most of my career and is today, is how do I serve people to help them become leaders so they can develop other leaders?
Is that the main role? Like, if you had to summarize what you do as COO, what would you say?
Well, there's two. I break it into two halves. The one half is full operations. I must, on a day-to-day basis, ensure that the operations of Toyota are running to the maximum ability. There's a word in Japanese, the word kaizen. A lot of people know it. It's this idea of continuous improvement, but it also means you've never reached the end. You've never reached perfection. You're always getting better. So mine is to take the entire work stream. That's everything from product planning and research to know where we're going to go, to parts supply and manufacturing, to the vehicle logistics to move it to a dealership, to sales with the dealership, the after sales. All of that is my responsibility. It's just one straight line. And always at the end of this is this big circle. All of it matters to the consumer. How is the customer at the center of everything we do? I call it customer-centered operations. Here's my operations centered on the customer. That's critical. So that's a 50% of the job, or I shouldn't say 50%. I break them into two pieces. Sometimes it's 100%, and sometimes it's 20, but it's critical. The other side of it is the development of the leadership team and all the leaders that I have an opportunity to help. Because it's impossible for any person, I don't care how good they are, CEO, COO, CFO, CSO, any of the titles.
Yeah.
It is impossible for that one person to do the work that's needed. The way to do it, in my opinion, to do it best is to create a team of people, back to the teamwork, back to sports, is to find a team that understands their role and how to mesh that team together to get to the outcome over here of the operations. So they have to work at equal passion.
How do you keep people excited about their roles? And like we talked about employee retention, and people are I think it's kind of like dating these days. It's just like, if you don't like something, you just go put out your resume, you go on an app and swipe left or whatever it is. So how do you keep people invested in working towards that mission?
Probably the hardest thing to do. It's your personal attention. Do you actually care or do you not care?
Yeah.
And everybody knows. You either care for the person that you're talking to or you don't. The best way to encourage that is to actually not only care, but to do it with them. You know, a lot of leaders will say, okay, here's a class for you. You guys go take the class. If there's a class to go take, I take it with them. If there's a learning we're going to do it, I learn it with them.
Oh, that's good.
Whether I've learned it before or not has no relevance. We're doing it together. So for example, right now I have a group of 5 direct reports, and I nicknamed us the Super Six. There's only 5 of them. Well, people say, why do you keep calling it the Super Six? Because we're all the same team.
Yeah.
You know, the hardest part, if you think about, I'll use I love the example of the soccer field. Okay. Soccer field, there's 11 players. One has a band on their arm. They're the captain. Are they the best player? Maybe, maybe not. Are they the best player in that game? Maybe, maybe not. Fact is, they've been assigned a role. Who gave them that assignment?
The coach.
Their coach. I have been assigned to be the team captain of this operations team. That's been the assignment I'm given. But I'm on the field. I'm on the pitch. I'm one of the 11. And in a soccer field, which is great, is based on the way the game's going, you might flow into any position on the field, maybe other than goalie. So you have a specialist, he's the goalie. The other 10 are moving at all times. The field is always this flow. That's how I'm trying to do. So when you ask me, how do I have to make that happen? I'm trying to have all of the leaders understand all of the leadership roles so that they're not just focused on their own, but focused on the values or the commitment of the whole team. I believe, for me, I have experienced success in that. Now, there are a lot of other people who have done it different ways, and they're super successful as well. I can only share with my experience. What I have is building up great teams. And I believe the reason I'm in this role isn't because I'm the best employee or the most knowledgeable. That's fine, I'm not. But I'm really good at how to bring the teams together to get the best out of the entire team.
Yeah. How many employees would you say you oversee throughout Toyota? I know it's in the tens of thousands.
It's a lot.
Just guess.
I don't know. I have, I don't know. I think the number maybe, I
30,000?
Yeah. I think it's like, I think with all the.
We have 30 and we're freaking out every day.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No, I think oversight is like, I want to say maybe like 25,000 something. And then, but it's hard because, yeah.
So here's my question.
It's just a lot. I don't know.
So you are overseeing 25,000. How many kids do you have total?
4. I got 5 now because I have a daughter in love.
Okay.
Yeah.
So raised 4 kids.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Toyota a lot, but before we move on into Toyota, I really want to know, because I think this is a big question that Danny and I have. How do you balance the responsibility of overseeing 25,000 people with making sure your number one priority is the 4 at home?
Well, 2 things. First, before I get to the 4, the number one priority is my wife. And so there's no doubt Jane is the most amazing woman ever. And she is my teammate. And even when we got married, I asked her that she would commit to being my wife and to being a team that shines for God. And that was in our vows. And she said yes. And so on day 1 of our marriage, we created Team Hollis. And everything for us was about team. And I can't be a good team leader on what God's called me to be as my priority, which is my spouse first and family if I don't live it.
Mm-hmm.
But that same mentality is the commitment to my family that I do make to Toyota. And that commitment being that I'm going to give those direct reports. I have 5 at home.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have 5 at work. While there might be a big number of 20, 30,000, whatever that number is, I'm not directly, while I'm responsible for the whole team, I'm actually only directly coaching whatever number, now I'm coaching more than the 5 because I have mentors and mentees,
yes.
but I have 5 direct reports. So when I see that, I don't ever think of it as how many people at Toyota.
Yeah.
I look at it as one by one. Mm-hmm. So same thing is the and we can probably, if you want to get into it further, I'm happy to, which is I had to make a commitment to myself, or I say I've not only was I compelled, my heart told me that my commitment had to be for my wife, and then successively, in succession, each of the 4 kids. I wanted to, with a mindset, always was, I'm going to give, and this is I don't know why I'm bringing this up right now, but I'm governed by 2 things, my attitude and my effort. And those are the only 2 things in life that I think I can control. We can talk about a lot of things. You, your team, your 30 people, what can you really control in your life? And I will argue that it's your attitude, which I define most of the time is the fruit of the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can define my attitude, but whatever way you want to create attitude, if I'm giving my best attitude, the greatest attitude in my point is to serve others. So I always look at do I have a servant's attitude? Do I have a servant's heart? And then effort. And let me ask you too, who's the only person who knows if you're giving 100% of your effort?
I feel like there's a lot of people that would know, but
Who truly knows?
Yeah. Me.
Only.
Oh, is that the answer?
No,
I was like, this has got to be a trick question.
It's my answer.
Yeah, I would say me. I know.
Yeah,
I know
know.
what 100 is.
You know.
You know what 100 is, and there is no 110. I love when people say, I'll give 110%. No, you can't give more than you can give. Right. So you can give all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to many people on the outside, you can give 80% and it looks like 100% because they may not know. They may see others, they may see you working at a level that's higher than the level they're working at or whatever. But only you know.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my belief, and this is truly my heart. If you give 100% of your effort and you give 100% of your heart or your attitude, your servantness, then I believe that you can be confident that the outcome is God's.
Mm-hmm.
We believe we can be in control of a lot of things and we're not.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people say, well, how do you know if it's God's will? I can only tell you is that if I give 100% of who I am in any phase, and my attitude is the best I can give. It doesn't always work that way, but it's the heart's manner, right? It's this serving attitude. I can feel confident that outcomes are God's. So that's what I've done with my kids and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've done at work. And the outcomes are what God has provided.
It's so much of why I was excited to have you on, because I think a huge part of your testimony is I think culture teaches us through social media, through self-help gurus, et cetera, is that if you work hard enough and you sacrifice enough, you can be successful. Your story is you have worked hard, and I know that you have made sacrifices, but in so many ways, your message is the opposite. It's countercultural in the sense that you're saying, hey, I prioritized my family and I prioritized my wife, and God opened all these doors, and now I'm the president of Toyota USA, right? Through a interview that you actually turned down or said no to at the start. And so I think that part of your story that I hope people hear and that we can highlight is that there's a sovereignty that God had over your life throughout the entire time, right? But what are I think that what the biggest challenge men or women who are ambitious listening to this podcast are going to have is, how do I balance? I think balance is probably what we're all looking for, especially millennials, of like, what does that look like in terms of balancing my family with work? So when it came to the practicalities of balancing the 5 that you were managing at work and then the 5 or 4 that you were managing at home, 5 plus your wife, how did you do that? What did that look like? I remember asking Allison a question. I was like, did you ever feel like your dad was like always gone or busy? Because assumption wise, you'd be traveling to Japan or wherever you go. And she says, yeah, he was busy, but when he was home, he was home. I never felt like I was competing with his attention when he was at home. So can you speak to that and what you would kind of teach a young executive that you're training who has a family of how to balance the two?
Yeah. Wow, there's so much there. And I really appreciate the question and the heart around it. You know, because my experience has been interwoven with Christ, to anyone who's listening to this, whether you are a Christian or not, a lot of the principles that I really enjoy are the same. The principles. Doesn't matter if you've given your life to Christ or not. And the part about balance is very, very difficult, and it's becoming more difficult today. And here's what I mean is, how do you define balance? When people say, well, Jack, what's your idea on a work-life balance, which is kind of what I think what you're asking a little bit, is I don't know what my balance was. What I was focused on was giving 100% to whatever that thing was. So for example, I would work and give 100%. But as soon as I left work, I'm now 100% home. I'm 100% coach. I coached both my boys in 8-9 years of baseball, and I did all their all-stars, and I went to the nth degree and taken them to Cooperstown and special travel ball. Why? Because I wanted to give that to Allison, my oldest. She was my first. I was learning a lot of times as a dad. I mean, literally, your first child, you're trying to figure it out. I don't know about you guys, but Stella was your first, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're looking to Stella and Stratton, right? And you're like, okay, we read some books and we have some friends and do you really know? No. So Stratton comes along and you have a chance to say, well, we've learned this up front. Mm-hmm. We could do a little bit better. It's not better in the sense of the outcome. It's better in you have a more thoughtful approach to it. That's all it is. Your third one, and congratulations, and is going to have even more of your thoughtfulness around it, right? This is what I had to do. So Allison I wanted to be there for everything. So and as a dad, and first time, I figured my way to balance was to just engulf her with everything I could. If she's going to play soccer, I'll coach the soccer. If she's going to be doing studies, I'll do the studies. If she's going to do dance, I'll do dance with her. Whatever it is, I'm just going to jump in. So I never thought about balance of do I have enough time? It's that I would be giving all of myself to that person and to my wife. I still think that's the way it is today. Now, I do know the history or the background of the question is how do you not to be too swayed on one or the other?
Right.
And you have to say no sometimes.
You have to say no a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for Jordan, for you, it'd be, in my counseling session here for you two today, is I would say, Jordan, the person you ask is Danny. Danny, is Jordan having balance? Is he giving you the attention and the kids attention? And then Danny, you would come back and say the same thing to Jordan. I had to do that all the time with Jane. Jane, where are we at? Are we kind of keep that thermostat correct, right? Where are we at here? And she'd be great. She'd say, man, thank you. The kids could really use a little extra time. Could you make that happen? Or the kids are doing this, or we're great. Or she'd say, hey, how about me? And she would be reminding me, hey, don't be too focused on work or the kids. I mean, and so there's kind of this dance as a couple that needed to happen to be able to know the right levels of quote unquote balance. And that's what I have experienced. And I would just tell people, define what balance means to you. What is really the outcomes you're looking for? And then steer your time and efforts towards that.
Do you think that Toyota has a more balanced or harmonious work culture because it's a Japanese company? Are there any like Japanese cultural things that you feel being a part of Toyota that you wouldn't maybe feel at a US based firm? And the only reason I'm super generalizing, but I think that we have a lot of friends who are in big law or, big four accounting, and they drive their employees hard, right? America is such a productivity first type of environment, sacrifice what you have. And I'm wondering if the Japanese ideals, which I actually don't know what they are, come into and have played a role in you being able to feel a little bit more balance in the work environment.
I would say first of all, the two pillars of the Toyota way, there's something we call the Toyota way. There's two pillars. One's called respect for people, and the other one is called Kaizen, or continuous improvement, like I mentioned earlier. The idea about respect for people is to respect each person and what the decisions they need to make. Because everyone has a different home life, a different personal life, single, married, families, whatever. The respect for that is to really support that. You're always supporting the individual, but Toyota, which matches up with me personally, is always about the team. How does Toyota win? Not how does one individual win? Mm-hmm. Okay, so because of that, in Japan, though, you would find, depending really what department is, their work culture is more hours and more company committed than you would usually find on a US company. They're driving the team to be the best the team can be. Kaizen. Efficiency. And what happens is, just like this, if there's multiple people in a room, it's all of us. And if no one, who's leaving first? Who's leaving the office first?
Yeah.
Well, if nobody leaves, you're there for 18 hours.
Because there's always constant improvement.
And you're always like, I don't want to let the team down. Yeah. And so that's a culture at Toyota, which is always to help one another do more. Mm. It's not about I'm doing more. It's how do we all do more? Mm-hmm. And you don't want to be the person to let the team down by leaving early, which might have been after 12 hours. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's the kind of the culture to this. In the US, it's not significantly different. What is different is culturally, we are a regional office in the North America versus the global headquarters in Japan. And there's always going to be a difference. It's just like you, if you're the global center here. People are, the further you go down the road, they're not going to have all the full exact understanding of the commitment you guys have. You want to try to develop that, but it's hard, right? Mm-hmm. It just is. Mm-hmm. That's what I face today. So ultimately, for my own personal sake, which is always how do I measure and how do I make sure that I am giving my best to the team, and starting with Team Hollis first. Mm.
Mm. We met in 2020. Hard year.
Yeah.
Hard year to be a public figure. You were a public figure on a different stage than we were. And I met you at Allison's, I think, birthday party, mm-hmm. and heard a lot of great things about you. But I opened up to you during that time mm-hmm. of, oh my gosh, we are just getting blasted on the internet. And everyone was. Even though it's the holiday season, feeding our kids good health food is always a priority. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know the holiday season is one of our family's busiest times of the year. This can make eating healthy food difficult, especially when we are on the go. This is where Thrive Market has helped us so much as working parents. It makes getting healthy snacks to keep around the house or send Stella and Stratton to school with so much easier. Thrive Market is the #1 destination for parents looking for healthy, stress-free grocery shopping for the whole family during back-to-school season. From nut-free snacks to high-protein bars and snack packs for lunchboxes, Thrive Market has you and your kids covered as you get back into the school year and your routine. They have everything from Smart Sweets candy to Chomp Sticks and so much more. You can even get non-toxic cleaning products. I love that Thrive Market only allows trusted, top-quality ingredients while restricting more than 1,000 harmful ingredients like artificial flavors, high fructose corn syrup, and more. They make it easy for me to get the right nutrition for Stella and Stratton with the click of a button. Plus, you can use the Buy It Again feature and on-site filters to save time and easily get lunchbox staples and afternoon snacks delivered to your door. Not only do I save time shopping as a Thrive Market member, I also save money on every single grocery order. On average, I save over 30% each time. They even have a price match guarantee and a deals page that changes quickly. When you join Thrive Market, you are also helping a family in need with their 1-for-1 membership matching program. Want to shop at a grocery store that actually cares for your health? Go to thrivemarket.com/dinfluence for 30% off your first order plus free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/dinfluenced. We are so close to baby number 3's arrival, and we are beyond excited to once again use Nanit for our baby monitor. You all know we are about to have a full house with a 4-year-old, 2-year-old, and a newborn, so it is extra important to Danny and I that we have a baby monitor we can trust. My busy parents know it's so hard to leave your babies for work, but with Nanit, I can keep an eye on things at home and check in right from their app when I'm on the go. It's truly given me so much peace of mind, especially as baby number 3 is quickly approaching and things are about to get a little more crazy in the Austin Ramirez household. The Nanit Baby Monitor has won over 25 awards in 2024 alone, including from the New York Times, Wirecutter, Parents Magazine, and The Skim.
But Nanit isn't just a high-definition camera. It also monitors your baby's sleeping and breathing patterns. Plus, it helps you not miss any of the baby milestones. With all these tools, Nanit makes more sleep for your baby and you possible. Nanit parents tend to get an extra 36 nights of sleep per year, and Nanit babies sleep 10% longer. I have one ready for baby number 3, but have already been using Nanit for Stella and Stratton, and it's just as effective for the toddler age too. This product seriously changed the parenting game. The Nanit baby monitor is the MVP of baby gear. It's the one baby item we can't live without, and of course, we have a special offer for just our listeners. Get 20% off your first order with code DREAM20. That's DREAM20 at nanit.com now. NANIT.com.
Ooh, guys, you know how much our family loves Minky Couture blankets. I'm most upset because Stella steals mine all the time, and she's never stolen my blankets before, but she's obsessed. I actually am going to order her like the kids version. They're seriously the softest, coziest blankets ever, and they just look so luxurious when you have them out on your sofa and your bed. We have one just in about every room in our house, and so I can have one available at all times because that's how much we love them. Minky Couture is the creator of the original Hugs blanket, a stretchy, plush, and double-sided blanket that hugs you right back. That's so true. I didn't realize how much they have like a stretch to them. It really does feel like a hug. That's why our family loves them so much. Minky Couture is a female-owned business, love that, started by a mother who wanted to provide luxurious comfort to her daughter. Plus, they are also passionate about giving back to the community, donating over 30,000 mini Minkies to NICUs across the country every year. There are so many different colors and sizes. There's a Minky for everyone in your life, which means it is the perfect gift for loved ones this holiday season. Stella and Stratton love them so much that they have actually asked for the kids-sized ones for Christmas. It's seriously the best blanket ever. It's so soft, the most luxurious feeling and looking blanket I've ever owned. You guys have to try them, and right now you can get them for half off. Visit softminkyblankets.com and use code DINFLUENCE50 at checkout for 50% off of all full price blankets. That's softminkyblankets.com. Use code DINFLUENCE50 for 50% off of all full price blankets. Truly the best holiday Christmas gift for pretty much anyone in your family.
You know, you and I had a really interesting conversation, which is probably like why I mainly wanted to have you on this podcast. We had a really interesting conversation of how you were thinking about things in the boardroom, how you were pushing against messages that maybe people wanted to push out through Toyota Global or Toyota North America. And I asked you for a lot of advice of saying, hey, we're getting a lot of pressure to say XYZ, but sometimes we don't agree with XYZ. And I think that or
we don't know what XYZ even means right now.
Yeah, right. That's right. There was a lot of convoluted messages. And I think we look back on 2020 and we, a lot of people who were pressured to say XYZ, are now being like, we shouldn't have pressured them to say XYZ. We're smarter in hindsight than we were just caving to a lot of messages in 2020. Mm-hmm. But the reason I think it's so interesting to have this conversation is because I think that the average consumer out there, the average audience viewer, whether it's mainstream media, cable, they want to know what is happening in these corporations. Why are they supporting this message or that message? What conversations are happening? And I think that there's probably two divides here. There's the people who ideologically are happy that a lot of the political messages are being said. And then there are others that just simply are like, why are brands becoming political? Like, can you just sell me car? Dibby, can you just sell me a hair care product? And I think the tone has changed for executives probably in 2020 to now. I think that they've lightened up on just jumping straight into, political messages. But I'd be curious, let me think about what my question is. My question, I think, is, at a Japanese company, do you feel a little bit insulated from the culture wars of America?
You
like that question?
That's good.
I don't think so. It's interesting as you stated the question, because I don't see myself working for a Japanese company. That's first of all. I need to make sure that you understand that. As a regional, I'm very clear that Japan's our global center, and I'm very clear that I report up through global CEO. So I get it. I get where you're coming from. But we are a regional. We run North America, And Toyota has given a lot of autonomy to each of the regional offices to run the businesses the way that we see fit, because everything has come from the Toyota family. So remember, Toyota, the company, is a family business. We're on the third generation now. Actually, the fourth generation is working in the company, but our chairman is the third generation. And it's very clear, even when I met with him, his name is Akio Toyoda, and Akio Toyoda will simply say, you must do what is best for our team, our brand, in the U.S. or in North America.
Oh, so you're right. You're right here with us. You're in the culture wars.
It's always a culture war. Now, Japan has a different societal belief around a lot of the cultural challenges we might have here. Right. When you live in Japan, it's an island. So you have an island mentality. And the island mentality is that everybody always protects the island. Mm-hmm. So if you think about that, it's different. We think of Japan as this big place. It's a very small island. And that small island, so their mentality is to protect everybody all at once. In the US, it's a lot less about the team and all of the US winning. Unfortunately, it's all about my thoughts winning, my small subset of people winning, my whatever that is. So in the US and in the cultural wars that go on and what we did in 2020 to today is this. At the company, it is very easy for me to go in and say is, as a team or a brand, our goal, our desire, it sounds super simple, is we want to sell and service vehicles to every person. Mm-hmm. The outside, a lot of times the pressures come in is because the outside wants you to choose between their beliefs and their beliefs, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying, why are we even choosing? We are not a political entity. We are a vehicle company. So many times our company here takes the stance of, we believe in both sides. Mm-hmm. Because listen, we're a company of all kinds of people with all kinds of beliefs. So we want to represent our whole family of individuals to the outside. So why would we want to choose A versus B? And I've said this often, A versus B, when we really have people inside of our company who believe in both, and we're trying to sell product to both. Mm-hmm. So what's really hard is when it comes down to, somebody say, well, what about this question or this societal issue? My own personal belief may or may not match up exactly with the next executive, and we may not match with the third executive. But ultimately, as a team, it must be about what the brand's ultimate goals are. And for us, Mr. Toyota says it all the time, is we are here to serve every customer and bring a smile to their face.
Right.
Can I ask you a tough question?
Please.
If you worked for a company that decided to, halfway through the year that you started working there, change their values and align with something that you didn't believe in, because it sounds like, Toyota just wants to serve everyone. That's what we want to do with Divvy. It's like, we want to sell hair care. But if you work for a company that halfway through, they decided to take a stance that you don't believe in, how do you handle that as a Christian? Is it something that's so strong that you feel like you would have to leave, or how would you handle that?
Yeah, I think it's really critical that based on your question, you're saying you started to work for a company that you saw their belief systems and you joined them because you thought that aligned.
Yeah,
and somewhere along the way they changed their belief system.
I think that happened to a lot of people in 2020.
Yeah. Can I love your question. Can I back up almost a little bit? I would have a question that asks you, so 2020 was just a pivotal year because it was the first impression that we had of the escalation of pressure to jump into identity politics across the board, right? So,
well, COVID did it because it had those who believed COVID was real or not real,
correct,
or how to address it or not address it.
Correct. And I think that there were a lot of other sub issues wrapped up in the COVID era 100%. As well. But we had never really seen that as strongly before. But I'd be curious if that's your experience as well. So is 2020 in that era kind of a mile marker in terms of, this is when brands really started to be pressured to push these political messages out the door? Or is this, for you, this has always happened, you guys are just now exposed to it on a higher level? Does that make sense? Like almost the history of brands becoming political, in your opinion?
I think I can potentially even address both, because in my experience as a company at Toyota, we've always faced this cultural kind of questioning for at least as long as I can remember. 2020 has just exasperated it. It brought it out. We accelerated during COVID Well, maybe what we had been dealing with for 10 years, we did it in 10 days. I mean, that's how fast the acceleration occurred during COVID. So it had always been there, and there had always been this, what side do we want to support, or what is the Toyota brand going to stand up for, or back, So that has been something always, and always, for as long as I can remember, Mr. Toyota has always been, the leadership of this, locally has always been, we do the right things for our dealers. We support our dealers, and we do the right things for them to support the customers. And when you think about the simplicity of that, and then I'm going to jump to your question, Danny, because I think what was interesting in there is where I'm so thankful for Toyota is our value statements and our goals have always remained consistent. There has never been a change to that. And that is because from day one, it was always about serving others and truly looking at the next person in the chain. So for us, is to help our dealers so the dealers can help the consumer. Is I can't then choose a red or a blue or a conservative or a liberal. I can't choose that. And then you asked, but as a Christian, how do you do that? Well, what you do is you are trying to make people the most important. As a believer, what did Jesus believe is always the person in front of them, how to take care of that person, how to address their needs, how to love on somebody, even if that person, by societal's definition, aren't being loved. His point wasn't, I'm not judging, I'm loving them. If I'm in a company, and if anybody who's listening is in a company and those values change, two things you have to ask. One, why did the values change? Why? Why did the values change? If it was this and now this, what has changed? And do I want to be a part of that change?
Yeah.
And I think every person has the right to say, hey, I thought we were going this way. We're not. Then I'm going to go and follow, again, back to my heart and the Holy Spirit to go to where I'm aligned.
As a leader in a company, C-level executive in a company, did you feel that during that era, you saw a lot of values change, and not Toyota, but other companies around you?
Yes.
Because what we felt, and I think everyone would feel this in hindsight, is that it was a cultural pressure that led to a lot of quick action on behalf of companies that confused a lot of customers who subscribed to a lot of brands. And at the end of the day, I think we look back and we say, that is what we would define as virtue signaling. You virtue signaled your way, you broke your values, and now some brands are trying to claw it back. But it was and I don't blame them. I really don't. It was a intense pressure cooker of a season.
And we should never blame anybody for anything, because we don't know the pressures. I don't know the pressures that you face every day.
Right.
You don't know what I face. And everybody that we would ever talk to, you have to, we all have to give credit to the other person, to the other entities. There was intense pressure, but when it comes with intense pressure comes something out of that. And if people are changing their values based upon intense pressure, when are they going to change again? Something else changes?
Right.
That's the core strength of a company, is what do you stand for? And if that's flip-flopping, you just have to, as an employee, question if you want to be a part of that. You can still be a part of it, but you have to realize they may change at any given moment. And that was why that time, but that was intense. When I talked about exasperated and people changing, there was a lot of companies who wanted to jump in on a political or a social element. I just questioned it, like, why? Why are you moving to that? When, for example, as a Toyota or a Lexus, when we are literally trying to serve the needs that you have. That's transportation needs. Well, transportation needs are not red or blue. They're not liberal or conservative. You have a need. We're trying to meet your need. There are different companies that were at that time who were wanting to, I think, make a name for themselves. They wanted more attention. They wanted maybe headlines. But always think of it this way. If you choose one side, you're alienating 50%. That's just math.
Yeah.
If you turn left, the people who are going right aren't going to like it, and that's opposite truth, right?
Sure.
So the question is how do you provide, and how does Toyota, and I love being part of this, how do we provide the best that we can for people's needs? And by doing so, isn't then a question of if any, what'd you say, virtual signaling?
Virtue signaling.
I'm saying virtue signaling. It's not about virtue as a company. It's about meeting someone's needs. And that virtue or value statement, which is we're going to respect you and we're going to make things better for you, that's
That's generally, I will say, that's generally what we have tried to advocate for and fight for within our executive team at Divvy as well. Is listen, guys, we are here for people, not right or left, not conservatives or liberal, not this or that. Just people, right? And there's a really kind of a pure heart when you're just looking at the person beyond all of the things that they might, say, I am this or I am that. We're looking at just the heart of the person, the people.
That's right.
And I think that we have just felt that so long as you stay focused on just providing the need, which ours is hair care, yours is cars, and transportation, it becomes simpler, right? But
and if I can just speak to that too, I think that I'm just gonna be honest, it is really, really challenging as a Christian to grow, start, and run a company as it grows. Because you want to keep your values, of course, but not everyone is always going to have your values.
Sure.
But I think what you said, by focusing on the one and not being so caught up on the box that they're trying to put me in, or the label that they're trying to put Divvy in, or Divvy supports this or that, like just focusing on the one individual and the people in front of you takes a lot of that pressure off, where it's like, we don't have to virtue signal. We don't have to say that we align with this, because at the end of the day, like, we align with loving everyone that is working for us, focusing on the one individual, listening to them. Because at the end of the day, I'm always like, even when you post that one thing on Instagram, it's not going to actually change people's minds. That's not what changes someone's mind. It's a relationship. It's a conversation. It's getting to know them. It's influencing them.
Well, and I love how you're saying this, because you earlier, as we were talking about loyalty, I am fully convinced what people want in life is trust. They want to trust you, and they want to be trusted.
Yeah.
They want your product to be true all the time. They want you to be consistent. That's what people want. They're striving for it. And we don't, even if we don't want to go down the word of Christian or of what those values are, I can still say that one of the things I've learned the most from the Bible itself is, what did Jesus do? What is the actual most virtuous person ever? Truth, trust, and how did he live? And I think that's what we should do. And that was to love each person individually, love them.
He loved on like the dingbats too.
It didn't matter, because but the fact was, that's what the ministry was. That's exactly. It wasn't a choice. He didn't say, "Oh, well, I'm going to love you, but not you."
Yeah. He
actually blew the whole world mind when he said, "Well, I'm going to love the Gentiles as much as I love the Jews."
Yeah.
The issue is that I'm going to love everybody.
Yes.
And as a company, I want to be, and as an executive, if I choose one, that means I'm actually loving one and not loving the other. Mm-hmm. No, I can't do that. That's not acceptable. I won't do that. Mm-hmm. I hope you won't do it. The goal is for us to be true to the other person, to help the other person. And that's truly what it is to be a servant leader. Mm-hmm. And that, in that case, you're not flip-flopping, you're not changing your values, you're not changing your statements. You can be consistent, and you can actually look everybody in the eye and say, this is what I stand for. And that's when you would talk about freedom and really enjoying your work, is when you are doing that every day without concern for what somebody might say or somebody might do. No, you're doing it.
Fellas, are you striking out on Christmas gifts for the ladies in your life? Tired of giving a necklace or makeup product they already have? Then listen up, because this ad is for you. If your wife or mother has frequently mentioned her dislikes for her wrinkles or fine lines, then why not give her the gift of wrinkle relaxers, aka Botox? Botox is an FDA-approved formula that temporarily softens the appearance of lines and prevents wrinkles before they start. This can be used in areas including the forehead, crow's feet, 11s between the brows, bunny lines, chin, neck, and for lip flip. Danny has been open and honest about her Botox use and how it has made her more confident. It really is such a good gift for someone you love, because it can get pricey buying it for yourself. This is where Ideal Image comes in. Ideal Image is North America's #1 medical aesthetics brand with over 20 years of experience and 20 million successful treatments performed. They are an industry trailblazer committed to offering an innovative and effective suite of products and services that are medically led and backed by science. Ideal Image provides a personalized and premium experience grounded in transparency that delivers real results and powers women through every step of their self-care journey. Right now, Ideal Image is offering an exclusive $100 off offer for our D-Influence listeners. Get $100 when you visit ideal.vip/dinfluence. That's www.ideal.vip.dinfluenced. Now, if Botox isn't in the market, no worries. I have another idea for you. Get your wife some Skims. I mean, seriously, guys, Danny cannot stop raving about their products, especially if you are gifting to a soon-to-be or newborn mom. Danny says their Fits Everybody crossover bralette will be the one thing she wears while nursing because it's so comfortable and makes feeding easy. If your wife isn't expecting or you don't have a newborn, Skims is still an amazing option when looking for gifts. They have the comfiest pajamas, loungewear, and so much more. You can seriously find something for everybody on your list. I can vouch the Skims men's line is the comfiest clothes I've ever put on my body, and I do in fact have some items on my Christmas list. This is why I am so excited to tell you guys about the Skims Fits Everyone Intimates collection. This fabric is so comfortable and breathable, which has been amazing for me since I'm constantly on the go, and for Danny as well since she's in the final months of her pregnancy. Get your girlfriend or wife the comfiest gift they could ever ask for from Skims. The Fits Everybody collection is available in sizes extra, extra small to 4X. You can shop now at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know I sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select my show in the drop-down menu that follows. If you've watched our most recent episodes, then you know that Danny has been more about updating my wardrobe. Apparently, the cool, chill founder look is what I should be going for. Recently, Travis Matthew Apparel sent a ton of stuff over to me to try, and I absolutely loved it. Did I love the outfit Danny put together? Not necessarily, but once I could style myself in their clothes, it was an immediate yes. Not only do they have great everyday clothes, but they also have awesome workout apparel that I've been loving. We've been talking about gift ideas for your wife. Travis Matthews is another one, as they have both men and women's apparel. However, ladies, I know the majority of you are listening to this right now, so let me tell you, Travis Matthews clothing is a great option if you're looking to get your husband or dad a Christmas gift. Their clothes are so versatile, you can take one piece and easily use it for a variety of events and outfits. Consider Travis Matthew your holiday headquarters and discover the perfect gift for everyone on your list. Visit www.travismatthew.com and receive 20% off your order with code Danny. Plus, if you become a Travis Matthew Rewards member, you'll get free shipping and free returns. All you'll need is an email to sign up.
What are the counter arguments that you get in the boardroom against this more simple philosophy of people and we're here to serve transportation?
I think I don't know so much counter arguments. I'm kind of loud. There's not a lot of counter arguments with it. So I don't know that there's not a lot of counter arguments because I don't think anybody really wants to
people
fight
who
it.
say, I disagree with your belief that this is how we love people. There's a disenfranchised community over here that we feel that we need to love extra at Toyota, and by not doing that, we're not loving people because we should love them.
But my problem is, in my counter, and this is, we would go on and on in this, George, because I'm going to always come back to, if anyone who's quote unquote disenfranchised gets more attention, then you are actually by definition taking attention away from someone else. And doesn't each person deserve the equal amount of attention, the equal amount of love? And I don't know who is, other than God, I don't know who is virtuous enough or who is good enough to make a decision between one group needing more or less than another. You are by then defining yourself as you being a judge of someone else. I'm not judging other people. I'm loving them. I can't tell you that this person is more, and we talk about disenfranchised, or we talked about served or underserved. I don't know who gets to make that decision, who's making that definition for that person or group of people. Mine is that I am not less than anybody, but I'm not more than anybody. And I think that's, as a company, as a culture, any company with any belief system, I would encourage to say is, I am equal in basis of value. I'm not better than, my company's not better than your company. Mm-hmm. It's not less than your company. They're just different. Mm-hmm. And every difference needs to be loved to the maximum. And it's not about equal, it's about max. Mm-hmm. Max consideration, max serving, max loving.
Yeah.
Love it.
Let's go.
He's like, mic drop.
That's what I was looking for. Honestly, I'm asking a lot of these questions for advice too, just from our standpoint.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I think boardrooms, and people talk about boardrooms today, and because there are more kind of political statements. I mean, look at the country. Look at this election, cycle right now. It's
not as bad.
Well, it's going to get worse.
Am I crazy?
No.
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse because
that's why you're here. You're preparing
because you have this maximum change that you could possibly have of one candidate to another on the Democrat side. In every election, I shouldn't say that. In every election, of the majority of the people who are listening to this podcast, every election has been within 1 to 2% votes of one side or the other. Right. Same for Senate, same for the House. Doesn't matter. It's because why? Because everyone's saying you have to choose between A or B. Mm-hmm. And I'm still, even in politics, why can't I love both of you? Mm-hmm. Why can't I think you both have great ideas? Why can't I think I really like a lot of what you both have to say? I mean, that's how I feel as an individual.
I think that's how the majority of America feels.
Okay, so
they're more reasonable than I feel like we think.
Yeah, I think that the majority of America is moderate, somewhere in the middle, but the middle it's really hard to exist in the middle in this media environment.
Because a lot of society, because you're at 50-50. Because just think about it. If everybody's at 50-50, your goal is like a tug of war. If I can just pull a couple more to my side, then it becomes 51-49. Yeah. And my own personal beliefs win. We're talking about tug of war in an entire society to move 1 or 2% of people. So it becomes more and more loud, more and more pointing fingers, more and more blame, more and more dispersion, more and more. And that's what quickly damages companies, countries, people, families. It becomes divisive. Mm-hmm. That I don't like to call myself red, blue, or moderate, because I literally look at things as policies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are things that I think are best for the future? But that's how I think of it in business. That's what I want for the whole country. What is the best for the future? Mm-hmm. And it tends to be that on the right or the left, there are some really good ideas here and some really good ideas there. But there's no way they're going to allow the other person's ideas to become, oh, that's a pretty good idea. No one ever says that. Yeah. I'm still waiting for the debate that happens that goes, wow.
That's a good idea. I should do that.
That's a really good idea. I think that would be best. It doesn't mean you're right in all your philosophy. It just means like, wow, that's a good thought.
People might appreciate the vulnerability too.
Totally. Because what are we lacking today? What are we lacking in this country? What are we lacking in the boardrooms?
Grace.
There's grace. There's one other word I'm looking for, at least I'm saying grace and
I don't know the word, but I think what you're doing, which is just being rational.
Oh, that could be. I was actually going to say the word that I'm thinking is what I have seen less and less of is humility.
Humility.
Yeah.
When people are humble, they actually stop and they say, wow, what you're saying, what you're doing, it's really good. Mm-hmm. And when you stop and say, it's even better than I could have thought of, lives change.
Do you do that a lot as a leader?
Totally.
You have to fall on your sword and say, man, maybe you were right the whole time.
I would say it's more like this. Danny, that's an interesting concept. I was thinking of X. I really like what you said. Could you explain that to me some more? Mm-hmm. What happens is it's the humility, not to say the entire concept, everything has to change. It's that idea is so interesting. Give me more of what you're saying, because I'm going to change my X to X plus. And now it's an informed decision, an informed idea that's better because you listened, but the humble enough to say is that's adding value. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I think, whether it's at home life, and I love to look at home, as your children, as they get older, their ideas, you start saying, those are good ideas. And you're like, I thought this was good. Our team Hollis, we'll have a conversation. I'm like, whoa. And the more that you just stop and listen and are humble enough to say, that idea is better than mine. That's where I think growth happens. That's where I think maturity occurs. That's where I think life becomes super enjoyable.
And respect happens. Yeah.
And you talk about values. That's where value grows.
Yeah.
And Team Hollis, we always are talking about a team that shines for God. Jane and I talk about, we want to be a team that shines for God. Our principles was about loving God and loving people. If our principles and values are to just love people, and you have an idea and you have an idea to love people in a way that I wasn't thinking, let's go.
You're on the same team. You might
Totally,
as well
let's do that.
it different ways.
But when corporations stop and say, nope, this is the way to do it. This is the way this is the answer. It becomes very quickly polarizing because then you think you know better than others.
Right.
Can you speak more to how you run your family like a team?
That's a good question.
Or like a business? Or like a corporation? Kind of, if it's a team or a corporation.
Okay, so first, every good team, when you see a football team before of a game and they're standing in the locker room, they're coming out, they're about ready to run the field. What do they all do?
Before they get together, they huddle. They do a chant. Yeah.
So we got a Team Hollis chant, and we count to 3, 1, 2, 3, go Team Hollis. And you say, dude, that is so corny. And if my kids listen to this, they're going to be like, Dad, go Team Hollis. Okay, we'll go Team Hollis.
Yeah.
We'll have, I thought, another way when a team comes together, we'll have roles. We're packing the car, getting ready to go on something. Everyone knows what their role is, right? Everyone's like, okay, this is what I packed this lunch. I'm the one who does the packing of the back of the car. One of my sons does that. We have one who's designated who prays for us when we got in the car before we leave. He prays for the road trip. Everybody has a role. Team. We are all having elements. Did we do our team? How we did it. But I will tell you this: the one for family is the way we practice team. Is we do what many teams do is we start by praying. And we pray that it would not be our will be done, but God's. We are praying that whatever the outcome is going to be would be God's, not ours. That is very similar to what I do for my team all the time. I pray over them. Sometimes I'll ask them to let me pray for them or with them. I will pray on their behalf. I will pray over their chair that they sit in. Why? I'm wanting to make sure that I'm doing the best I can to support them. And the only way I know that I can give them my best is if I'm aligned with God to give them the best of who I am. Mm-hmm. And in both ways, those are ways that are very, very similar that I see for both business and for family.
Did you, when your kids were younger, maybe in high school, well, you actually have your daughters and she just went to college?
Yep, she's a sophomore.
Okay, that's right. When they were
TCU.
younger, growing up, did you have team meetings? Did you have more structure? Were there more like practical, things that people could implement to bring the team together?
I laugh because I know my wife will listen to this and she's going to laugh. What is he going to say to that question? Because we would have, it was more about dinner time.
Okay.
A lot of times our goal was to try to eat together at the family at the dinner table as much as possible.
Yeah, that's huge. We've heard that's really big for families. Statistically, for families sticking together. It's
just about having a common place to share thoughts and ideas and be loved and have freedom.
So that was like not like a rule, but something that you highly encourage was, hey, dinner time, we're all sitting together. We're not going off watching TV in different rooms.
Yeah, well, we are a pretty non-TV house.
Really?
We are pretty non-screens. We were talking about screens. We are
also statistically.
Wait, what do you mean? Like you have no TV? You didn't have TVs?
We did. We had one. Jane and I never even had a TV in our bedroom until like we moved to Texas, and we're like, as the kids were out of the house, and we're like, and we've used it like, literally, we've been here for 7 years. I bet you we've turned it on like
a couple times,
12 times. I don't know. I mean, seriously.
What's the last TV show you watched? All the way through.
Chosen.
Oh,
okay. Good answer.
Good answer. It's on brand.
Yeah, on brand. If you give me another one past that, I'm really going to have to think.
You mean you don't watch Love is Blind?
I don't even know some of these shows. See, that's the problem. Okay, so that's great. That's actually awesome. In our opinion about team was the more that we were doing things together, the more that we were together, that was building our team. So if you're a team or you're a practice, we'll go to basketball now. At basketball, you put the people together on a court. You spend time on the court. And even when you're taking a break, you're sitting on the court. You're always just together. And then you become closer just because you're seeing the guy. One guy's having a tough time and he's sweating and he's sick and you're kind of like, so you're caring for him because you're just together. It's quantity time. You're just there. You don't know when quality time is going to happen. Quality time comes because you have quantity and it just turns into quality time because you're there. And it's very difficult to say, I have quality time. What are you going to say to your kids? Okay, now we're going to have quality time. No, you're there, and it just becomes quality. So one of the things was try to maximize the amount of time together. And a lot of that had to do with, well, if the TV's not on, then we can use that time together. We could go outside. We can go to the park. We can go on a walk. We can go on a bike ride. And so our goal wasn't necessarily anti-screens or anti-TV. It was more like do stuff together. And unfortunately, screens get in the way of doing the stuff together.
You have a lot of really cool perks that come with your job. I've seen on Allison's Instagram stories.
At the Olympics.
At the Olympics.
Like the whole time.
Lots of, and Toyota's always sponsoring these amazing events.
Yeah.
We talked about this on our last episode. How did you prevent raising entitled children?
You're assuming this case that they're not entitled. I appreciate that you're giving me that credit.
I mean, they're not at all. I mean, Allison is one of the most humble people I've ever met, but then she's at the Olympics. Yeah. And then, she has all these, but she's also always inviting people. And so you would have never known that her dad was the CEO of Toyota unless you have actually asked her, what do your parents do? I mean, I think our first year I didn't know.
Well, that's good.
And so I'm just curious, like, how did you raise such cool kids?
I have a great wife who was always about thankfulness, gratefulness, and not looking for more. And I'm telling you, it is so much of God's grace in that. My 4 kids, I love them. I choke up about how they are as individuals with the lives that they're leading. Not because of success or not success in the world's eyes, because they love people. Mm-hmm. They are humble and they give to others. And to me, that's, when my kids come to me and they'll say something like, thank you for investing so much time in us. Or I get a note from one of them that says, hey, just thank you for letting me call you in the middle of the night and having you help me. It's being there for one another. So when you say, how did we raise it? It was Jane and I truly deciding what priorities we would put forth. And most of those priorities were about being together and the thankfulness, even in small things. The entitledness is difficult because Toyota has opened up doors for us that we don't, not only do we not deserve, we just can't even believe we're here. So to sit at the Olympics and be there for 2 weeks and get to have, most of our kids get to come in for a period of time. My one daughter, Amanda, she actually got to work at it. She got a job working as an intern for NBC. So she got to be a part of seeing it, but we got to see her a couple times while we were there. She comes back, she said the greatest thing was just to see so many people that she could serve. So I don't know necessarily how we got there other than by God's grace and then by me teaming up with a wife who was so always not about things or stuff. It was always about doing and being together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, how did you preserve your ego in all of it as well?
I had a wife who kept my ego down.
Yeah, wives do that.
You're not all that.
People get caught up in these things and then they're like, and I'm sure you've maybe worked with some of them and they get caught up in looking a certain way or being invited to, I'm sure you're around celebrities all the time and it can feel like, wow, I really am more important than the average Joe.
I am a lifetime of making mistakes and a lifetime of making all kinds of errors that I wish I could go back and change. But every one of those changed me and has developed the person I am. Growing up with means that were just okay, right? We didn't have a lot and we didn't have a little. But my mom and dad always cared so much about me, were willing to give me their attention, that we never really looked at success in the world's eyes ever. Mm-hmm. The success we had was how many times we could be together or have some sort of fun experience. Mm-hmm. And some of those experiences, because we didn't have money, were just like a car ride to go from LA to San Diego to go to the zoo. And that would be a summer vacation. So that was cool. And I love that. I think from our kids and our standpoint in my own, to keeping my own ego in check, which was really, I truly believe, is asking almost on a daily basis, God, I work for you.
Mm-hmm. Not myself.
I don't work for myself. In fact, I've said this many times on different things, but even in speeches. My name is Jack Hollis. I don't ever give a title. I work for God. I get paid by Toyota. I'm not saying that I don't work really hard for Toyota. I'm saying by me working for God, that means I give my best to Toyota. They go together hand in hand. But everything that has occurred because of God's provision, not Jack's doing. And I think it's having a proper look at yourself, because the company could have chosen all kinds of people to be in any role that I've been in, but they chose me. I'm trying to work as hard as I can for God to be, really to be his son, to really work in his way. And to do so means I have to live that and be that for every person at Toyota. They go hand in hand. So I don't know how necessarily, because I think in many times I probably had an ego. I've probably been too confident or whatever. And in life has thrown things at me to help me to stay humble. Or at least I think that's what it's called, is humility. But it's more like, it's always though about how I'm serving, not being served. And I think when you have that mindset of how often I can be serving somebody, it almost by definition keeps you humble, because I'm not worried about what I'm getting. I'm worried about what I'm giving you guys. I mean, I am so thankful that you guys, for some silly reason, decided, hey, we'll have Jack on our podcast. And I'm saying this super sincerely. I'm like,
we're
why?
thankful. I'm like, why are you here too?
Yeah, no, but why me? But I look at it as, how cool is the God to give us a chance to just hang out with one another for a couple hours and just to love on one another and other people. And I just hope I don't really have a great answer, because I think a lot of times I've screwed up of ego. But I've always come back quickly to say, but it's not about me. It's always has to be about God.
I want to wrap the podcast on two other topics.
Okay.
They're fun.
Okay, phew.
I'm scared now. I thought this was already fun.
So you understand the business model of the car industry. Are you long or short on Tesla?
Wow, this is great. Okay. I believe that Tesla has done what every great company and great industry has, which is disrupting what people think is normal. However, when you have a business model that cuts out the dealers, who are the local businessmen and women who are the closest to the customer, I think you're really missing on something huge. And that is the ability to get really close to the customer. And when a company is just a company and just selling a product, over time, it becomes less personal. I still think the automotive industry is personal. I think a vehicle choice, just like when you purchase a house, when you purchase a vehicle, is personal. And most people end up having a really good relationship with their vehicle. And that relationship with that vehicle needs care. And that care comes from people. So I'm not long or short. I don't like the fact that it disrupted. I'm simply telling you that a product that is only one product that gives no choice to consumers, whereas Toyota gives you 5 choices of, you can have a gas or a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid or a hydrogen vehicle or an electric, gives customers choice based on what they need versus a one choice place.
Because you've acknowledged they disrupted, are there any of their innovations or disruptions that you are going to look at Toyota and say, they did that well?
Oh,
we're going to try and do this.
All kinds of things. But every disrupting company in any industry does. Right. So when Tesla comes in and they great website, and they had these products that with this gigacasting, all these, of course we are. Yeah. Because like I said, you remember earlier when I said the humility, we don't have it all figured out. And with Kaizen, there's always something to get better at. Of course, you're going to look at Tesla, and there's a company out of China called BYD, Rivian here in the U.S. There's a couple of other companies that have come in that have these different kinds of innovations and a way to create product. But most of those companies, in my opinion, this is just opinion, don't have the customer at their center. They have the product at the center. And I'm still going to live or win and lose or win with the customer in the center. Yeah. The product is a way to interact with them. But so is your app, so is insurance, so is mobility devices, so is whatever. The customer's got to be at the center. And so while those companies, we'll learn from all of them, and they all have elements that we will pick up to make us better, because we still believe in Kaizen that we have a long ways to go.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
Is this about Twitter?
Yeah, I've heard that you know the new CEO of Twitter.
Yeah, not so new anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about her. I heard she's fighting quite a bit right now. She just issued a lawsuit against a GARM or whatever, which is that advertising. But what is she like? She's flipped Twitter around, in so many ways. What
Are
can
you
you
on
tell us
Twitter?
about her?
I'm not.
Are you on Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter.
Oh, we were going to shout out your handle.
I know. See, this is what's really funny about this whole podcast is you two who are like experts in social everything. You're talking to a social not expert. Okay, let's just go with that.
Honestly, it's
I can
good.
spell
It's
Twitter.
better for you.
I can spell Facebook.
X.
I can spell X as well. I know Linda. Linda's great. Linda Yaccarino comes out of NBC, comes out of a media world, very influential, and she's a friend. She's a friend to my wife, Jane. She is a wonderful lady who seeks truth and who wants truth to be told.
Wow.
This advertising thing you're talking about, I have no idea. So I'm not on anything. So I have no idea what that is. I can simply say this. Linda as a person is someone who can be trusted, and I trust her. And that's a cool thing. I will also say this for listeners who wouldn't, because I don't have Twitter and all this. I want to tie that to something you mentioned earlier about pressure we feel at the boardroom. There's been many people in my company who have said, Jack, we need to get you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Well, because we want to tell your story. We think you could tell your story about what you're doing and how it affects and how it helps Toyota. And I'm like, my problem is I've been a competitor my whole life. And what I would want to do is compete with everybody.
Yeah.
And I would be focused on that piece. And as soon as you start to think that, there goes your ego, there goes humility, there goes these other elements. I've chosen not to do that. Well, in a lot of ways, I think to protect myself against what I think it would do to me and or our company, because I simply want to make the company number one, not Jack Hollis number one. I really want to see Toyota's brand be elevated, not Jack Hollis's brand elevated. I'm just a person. I mean, I'm just one of however many billion people. I look at that, and that's the reason why I'm not.
Mr. Toyota's listening to this and he's like, I love this guy. My favorite employee.
Well, I don't know about that, but Mr. Toyota is great. And I think I am super honored to work for this company. I'm super honored to have been with you. Thank you for taking a quote unquote a chance on me to hang out with you. But I will tell you this, it is truly amazing to me that in my life, God's allowed me to be able to enjoy the experiences that would allow me to sit in front of you, or for my kids to be able to go to the Olympics and then, connect through the two of you. And when I look at the weaving of all these things, to be able to do something like this, unbelievable. I thank you for having me on to be de-influenced.
Okay, and last question, what's your favorite Toyota car?
Tundra TRD Pro, white with red interior, TRD exhaust.
We're going to have to Google that one.
Okay, where can people find you? Have you written a book or anything? I know you're not on social. LinkedIn?
Yeah, where can people find you?
You post on LinkedIn?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn. Only to
Jack Hollis is a ghost. The only place you'll ever find him is on this podcast.
We'll link Toyota.com in the show notes.
Yeah,
So you go there.
Toyota.com. Actually, it's funny. I had LinkedIn. I started a long time ago because at one point, like whatever many years ago, somebody wanted to send me their resume, but they didn't want anybody else to know.
Funny.
I said, all right, I don't know what LinkedIn is. So I had my secretary put me on LinkedIn, got in. Now I have a lot of people there, and it's a ingesting area for me, not a.
Yeah, you don't put anything out.
Is there a book in your future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really?
There we go.
Yeah, I'm working. Quite honestly, I truly believe there's a couple of things really on my heart that I would like to do to encourage other leaders of corporations. Whether that's a Christian book or non-Christian book, it's not really important. It's more about leadership that I believe could encourage others. So I want to be able to figure out a way to leave a little bit of some leadership nuggets for others. And that will happen over time. I'm not a writer, so I have to be able to find somebody really good who I can speak at, like, a microphone like this, and they can AI put it together for me.
Wow,
Okay.
that's amazing.
Well, include us on the book tour of this
Yeah.
podcast,
Yeah,
please.
we will.
We'll link it
We'll
up.
do it again.
We'll push it out. But thank you so much for being here. It means the world that you took your time and spent the morning with us. And
Thank
we
you,
will
and blessings
have
on
that.
both of you, and for Stella Stratton and number 3, baby.
Yay!
Come on.
Please note that this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services. Individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in this episode.